power grid is broken. Rick starts a new career in road repair. GivEnergy turn up the amps on the Electricians challenge. And Joe straightens out an electrician who should have known better.
Welcome to eFIXX TV, our fortnightly live stream here on Facebook and on YouTube. And tonight's subject is the power grid broken, Gordon.
And have you broken it, Gary?
I think if anyone's going to get the blame this evening, Gordon, it will lay at your feet.
Again?
Yes, it will. However, we can't make these shows without you tuning in fortnightly for us. And what drives us on is the comments. And there'll be loads of opportunities to comment this evening. And those comments will complete another video that we've only produced half of it, which is going to reveal to you in a few moments. But we can't make a fantastic live stream without some fantastic guests, can we, Gordon? Who is in our green room?
We have got the team from GivEnergy there. We'll just bring it there. Look at that. You can look at that. Looking nervous, really, there. All there. So, look, and Joe Hammond as well. He's in there. He's keeping them company. He is keeping them company. So
that's Paul and Michael from GivEnergy.
Yes, Paul and Michael from GivEnergy.
Right, okay,
and they'll be coming in a little while.
Right, so that links in nicely, isn't it? If this power grid is broken, there must be a problem. So where would you like to start, Gordon?
Where would we like to start? Well, let's start with something. I mean, I get trolled a lot on this on social media, so we're just going to start piecing the jigsaw back together because, yeah, we'll find out in a bit. But Gary, have you got a question?
I've got a question. Yes.
Yeah.
Are we allowed defined pieces of equipment actually within that meter box? Now, we looked at this a long time ago. We going there first?
Yes, we're going there first. Yeah.
So roll that one again then.
Yep. You've got a question, Gary, haven't you?
Yeah. Are outdoor consumer units safe?
Yeah. You can try again then.
Are outdoor consumer units safe?
We slipped into the West Country there. And are manufacturers hoodwinking you into using the wrong equipment? Did I invent the outdoor metal consumer unit and pocket millions in royalties? The topic of EV chargers raises numerous questions and opinions, which is to be expected, given that this market is still relatively new for electricians. Moreover, it has undergone many changes in wiring regulations and product standards. We recently reviewed this outdoor metal consumer unit from Lewden, which reignited a debate and lots of questions about product safety, wiring regulations, and pen fault protection. So why did we end up with an outdoor consumer unit in the first place? In this country, we often struggle with the concept of future-proofing our electrical installations. Adding a circuit to an existing consumer unit can pose several challenges. Most EV chargers require specific circuit protection, typically a double-pole RCBO, which sounds straightforward since many consumer units have spare slots. However, most existing consumer units are configured as split-load arrangements, making the installation of an RCBO quite challenging. Additionally, many units may be equipped with Type AC RCDs, which are not suitable for EV chargers. Even if the consumer unit has space, trying to match the brand of the existing circuit breakers can be a problem, as the manufacturer may no longer exist, or if they do, their current devices may not be backwards compatible. Furthermore, if the consumer unit is made of plastic, the task of adding a new circuit suddenly becomes a much larger undertaking. One alternative approach is to install a new consumer unit adjacent to the existing one, keeping the EV charger separate from the current installation. However, house builders frequently position consumer units in highly visible areas, often near the front door. This makes adding an additional consumer unit less visually appealing, as it can result in unsightly surface wiring or require some level of redecoration to conceal the wiring routes. In some properties, the consumer unit may be located in tight spaces, such as within a kitchen cabinet or cupboard, limiting room for additional switchgear. Cable routing from the EV charger location back to the consumer unit may be a challenge, requiring long cable runs or lifting of existing floors. These factors present considerable practical and financial challenges when adding an EV charger at the location of existing consumer units. While some customers may be willing to endure this level of disruption for the installation of an EV charger, many will not. The challenge of future-proofing our homes is not going away anytime soon. Consider these newly built homes, which represent the millions already constructed and the additional millions the government claims we will need in the coming years. These homes come equipped with gas boilers, lack EV chargers, and feature roofs without solar panels. Over the next decade, most will require EV chargers to meet evolving demands. While the government promotes heat pumps as an alternative to gas heating, integrating solar energy can significantly lower the operating costs of both EVs and heat pumps. As a result, we will likely need not just one new circuit, but at least 3. One of these circuits may require a Type B RCD, which is not produced by many manufacturers. Have house builders planned for this likely scenario? And are consumers even aware of the challenges that lie ahead? The straightforward solution to this problem is to tap into the existing electricity supply from an external meter box by adding a small consumer unit inside. This was a common practice among installers during the boom years of the OZEV grant scheme. However, this raised concerns among many contractors, as they were informed that consumer units should not be installed inside the meter box, which is designated solely for electricity supply equipment. Despite this, the meter box is owned by the customer, creating a grey area. To clarify the situation, we consulted all the distribution network operators in the country. Some responded directly, while others, aware of our inquiry, issued a statement through the Energy Networks Association recommending against the installation of equipment inside the meter box. This was later echoed by the NICEIC, which also advised that no equipment should be placed within the meter box. Even when we tried to clear up the issue for electricians, many had already found an alternative solution, which was to fit a small IP-rated consumer unit close to the meter box.
It's one of those, it's a brave pill moment, isn't it? All of a sudden now we've got an EV charging point on the outside of the building, and now we've introduced a consumer unit.
This approach raises several queries, particularly regarding the aesthetic appeal of many existing plastic consumer units. While they may be acceptable when hidden away in a garden shed, they are less suitable for prominent placement on the front of a property. Additionally, concerns arise about the long-term durability of plastic enclosures when exposed to sunlight. An IP rating does not guarantee suitability for all environments. In response to this demand, Luseco developed an aesthetically pleasing IP-rated consumer unit made of metal, which offers greater longevity for outdoor use. Other manufacturers are beginning to follow suit. In our next episode of eFIXX TV, we will delve deeper into the standards necessary for outdoor consumer units and potential safety concerns.
Now that was part 1. Is this now a symptom of the situation, Gordon, we find ourselves in?
Well, it isn't. Like what people would like to believe, I didn't actually invent the outdoor consumer unit. It was a symptom of that. Those OZEV installations back in the day, remember when people were crashing in EV chargers as fast as possible to get the grant?
Yes.
And obviously, we just did some exploration to see if we could level the playing field, because obviously a lot of electricians out there get concerned about, can you do something or can you not do something? And, you know, the outdoor consumer unit has emerged. We still do believe people put stuff in the meter cabinet.
Yeah, so we attacked that problem, didn't we, and said that we didn't think that we could have something inside of the meter cabinet. Yeah. Obviously, we saw the layout there. The NIC have confirmed it as well, the actual layout of that. So, of course, maybe we can blame you for that, Gordon, because you brought that to everyone's attention.
I did bring that to...
You're therefore forced everybody down.
Because people asked us, and again, we're quite happy to have this debate.
We are.
We'll carry the debate on, but we need to piece it together in the part of the story so people know where we've come from. And that video clip, that original video, was 3 years ago, back in 2021, when really a lot of people hadn't got into EV, so there's a lot of people in it now, and possibly you forget a little bit of history. Now, obviously that is a symptom of the problem we have in this country about future-proofing that was said in the video. So my suggestion would be, people watching, is what would your suggestion be to fix it? We have got a lot of legacy houses out there. As I say, they're building a brand new estate just down the road from us here.
Nothing.
All those poor people who are going to move into those houses are going to have problems in a few years' time of, they're going to have either the house ripped to bits to get some new circuits in, perhaps they want a heat pump, or we need to find some other solution. Now, in Ireland, they have a solution, don't they?
Yeah, got a little bit bigger meter box, and they actually define areas within that meter box that you can put equipment in.
Yeah.
So of course that gives you a nice place to be, that you've got that access outside, especially with the situation we're in now. Of course we haven't got that. And I think in Australia, the consuming actually sits outside within the actual meter box for them as well.
Yeah, and a lot of properties, yeah, all the circuit protections outside the meter box, and they have nasty spiders out there as well. So imagine going into those readily. Or the funnel back. I don't know if the funnel back stays in the box with there. But again, is that a solution? Now, we could say, and we have tried this before, we tried to engage with the E&A asking about meter boxes on some other stuff.
Yes.
And, you know, the response was they weren't that interested in helping out. Now, you've got to remember, you could say there's a solution there. You could put stuff in the meter box. It could be like in Ireland. In Ireland, they have a little MCB board in every meter box for every house. If you watch a video, we had a trip to Edmondson Electrical in Dublin. We explored that a little with the guys behind the counter there. An absolute great laugh. They allowed basically the electricians to add an additional circuit to that small board that's in there anyway for EV chargers. I don't know how they'd get on with heat pumps, but again, that's a solution. Our DNO, part of the problem, part of the solution, but remember, this is the same DNOs and the energy suppliers who do not want electricians tampering with meter seals, which is that other problem. And the industry tried to come together to solve that problem and didn't. We got safe isolation providers. I'm sure everyone is using them to do their works, but it's a problem. So we probably do need to have this debate, but we're going to piece through it. We've done enclosures and the symptom. We'll have a look at the solution in terms of some of the solutions out there in terms of plastic consumer units and metal consumer units that are going outside, and we'll step through some of the regs next time, 2 weeks.
Because you've had some really good information that you found yourself that's been validated by others within the industry, which is great, and other people out there have had similar information as well. It's you, isn't it? Give your thoughts. Don't shout, yell and scream and swear and all the rest of it. Come up with a solution and put that solution into the comments, put that solution onto social media in a nice grown-up manner, and maybe you'll find that people adopt that solution. We went into those meter boxes, we look like we've got people out fitting stuff in there. Okay, that problem's moved away.
Well, you don't see pictures on social media anymore because people do get trolled.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Okay, so that's that one. Right, okay, I'm happy with that.
You're happy with
as a start, I think that's I can't wait for 2 weeks to see what the next video looks like.
Yeah, and well, probably might be 3 parts to it.
Okay.
Because obviously there's some of the problems that I've put a freedom of information request in. It's going to take about 3 weeks to get it back.
Okay, so there might be 3 parts. There's part 1. So please bang in your comments whether you're live or on catch-up. However, if this grid is broken, maybe we can find a solution in the systems that maybe we're installing ourselves in commercial, industrial and possibly even domestic premises in order to make our grid more resilient. For that, we need our guests to come in, don't we? So can Michael and Paul join us from GivEnergy?
Oh, I'll shift along here.
We're going to move. Yeah, we're going to freshen it up with a roof.
Warm that seat up for you.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes.
Oh, I've got Michael here. Yes, I've warmed it up for Michael.
That's it.
Yeah.
All good. Well, thank you ever so much for joining us. Okay, obviously you're super nervous for a lot of reasons. You don't know your times at the minute, and that's where we're going to be in a few moments. But starting off with you, Michael, give us a little bit about your background in about 60 seconds.
Oh, 60 seconds. So 30 years in telecoms and data centres and code.
Telecoms, was that British Telecom?
Yeah, it was British Telecom at the time, and then became Openreach. So I started off digging holes in the street. Yeah,
so you probably after privatisation, you were quick to get out when work started.
Oh yeah,
it was introduced into the team at the BT. I managed to join a power network.
30-hour week sort of thing. And the rest snoozing in the van.
Yeah,
I've heard that. Yeah. And then moved into the software industry in Openreach, running a support team. Doing system building and reporting and all that side, and then retired in 2018. Yeah, I know. And had solar PV put in, was quite enjoying it, writing code to make it work for myself and others on Facebook. And a little friend who's sitting next to you kind of dobbed me into GivEnergy and said, you need to talk to this guy. And I got offered a job. I said no, and I went to see them at Stoke. Quite liked the way they work. I liked the people there. It's a big family. And I succumbed to the dark side and became a GivEnergy person. So,
what year was that?
That was nearly 2 years ago.
So you started your working career about 2 years ago, having left the
Yeah.
I like it. Well done, Mark.
Just about right.
2 years into it. Okay,
Yeah.
Paul, what's your story?
Hi, I'm Paul. I work for GivEnergy. So I'm ex-military. I was in the military for 25 years as an engineer, Royal Signals for my sins. I left the military in 2018, went to join a company called Lockheed Martin, who make aeroplanes. 5 years in Lockheed Martin. Whilst I was at Lockheed Martin in 2021, I bought some GivEnergy kit because it was the kit on the market at the time that did what I wanted. You know, it had an open API, which was their unique selling point. I could make the kit do what I want it to do, not what everyone else wants, what they want it to do, but what I want it to do. So I bought the kit and I learned a lot about it. I installed it all myself as a 16th edition electrician, did all that and started to learn more and more about the kit. And I then set up some Facebook groups, and those Facebook groups exploded. Thousands and thousands of people using them, and I've become the font of all knowledge for GivEnergy. Became the guru on Facebook. The legend, I believe they used to call me, the legend.
Oh, don't lean into it. Tell us everything. Tell us everything.
So,
Guru and legend.
so I was happily, you know, doing my bit on Facebook, helping the community, whilst I was busy doing my job at Lockheed, travelling the world on a big cruise liner called the Queen Elizabeth. And then one day I got an email from the technical director at GivEnergy saying, you know, we want to offer you, you know, would you consider coming to work for us? And I says, no, thank you. No, I'm not interested. I'm happy with what I'm doing. And he kept on, and you know, after about 3 months of nagging me, I agreed to have an interview with this CEO. And that interview turned into a contract. And within the hour, I had that contract in the email. And a very nice conversation with my at the time, my current boss. And I left Lockheed Martin and went to join GivEnergy. Oh, okay. Join the dark side. So in GivEnergy, I now look after all the testing of the equipment. So my role there is head of UK Lifecycle, right, which is a bit of a random title, but it involves everything from testing the equipment to certifying new product for use in the UK, looking after that product all the way through its life. So any bugs there are, any hardware issues, looking at trend analysis, feeding those back into the production lines to get the equipment, you know, updated, changed, tweaked, whatever you want to call it. And then towards the end of its life we're not at that stage, but towards the end of the equipment's life, looking at what we're going to do with that equipment at the end of its life.
So the circular economy.
So yes, exactly.
When we get to that point. Now everyone's been listening to that, and that's great. And they're really actually trying to pick out where the electrical knowledge is. So unfortunately, Michael, because we've got no twisted pair, obviously.
I know.
Now, if you come back next time, there will be twisted pair.
Oh, that'd be great. I can do the cable.
Yeah, you can do that. Well, allegedly. And that'll be up for you. So that's it. And then obviously you've got the military background, so we're thinking competitive, hard working, diligent, and all the rest of it. Okay, so it's only a matter of time before they both let us down, Gordon.
It is what it is. Time for the Electricians Challenge. It's time for everyone watching to join in. So you have, yes, there's the timer coming in. You've got a minute to get your time in. You've got to put down the name of the person you think will be fastest and the time that you think they complete the challenge in. So if you think it's Michael in 2 minutes 37, which could be a first. Could be put him at the top of the leaderboard. You put Michael 2 minutes 37. If you think it's Paul in 7 hours 17, you put Paul 7 hours 17. That, but military, you know, it could be a bit faster than that. It could be your hoodwinking go. Have we not hoodwinked people?
Yeah. So you've got to think back to last time. Obviously, we've got a slightly more mature gentleman who obviously has never really done any real work because obviously worked for BT. Yeah. And then we've got Paul, who obviously was in the army there, probably fought in every single war that was out there. Front line man. He did absolutely SAS on the weekends. All the rest of it. So you've got these two, but we know what happens. We had bold Paul and old Paul.
You did.
Everybody went for the bold Paul, and obviously old Paul won. And I've got a funny feeling tonight might not work out as the guests think it's going to. Gordon, we're nearly out of time.
Well, as times are coming in, let's have a look. It's even really.
Yeah, it should be as well.
Yep. I don't know who Michelle is. Do you have a weekend name, Michelle? No? Well, someone's got. We've had a Michelle do it, really.
Michelle.
Michelle.
I do like fancy dress, but.
Well, we've got
on that bombshell. So, let's roll it and see who's up first. We haven't seen these. We've come to somebody completely different. So who's up first? It's normally a good sign. It's normally a good sign. Yeah, it's normally a good sign. This usually comes second, Paul. Here we go then. So we're in. Old silver fox there.
But I was in the military,
dark bit of silver, nicely spread amongst the head hair. Right, okay, you're going for cables first. Did you watch the demonstration? Here we go. So nice super twist, super tight, and in we go. Big pull. Rick's there chilling out. One arm Rick it is, so you won't see him using his other arm at the minute. He's on the sick. God bless him. Okay. Here we go. Round Lasico bend into the Lasico consumer unit, which is metal and not connected to an RCD via the tails, by the way, if everyone wants to know that. You notice that that metal consumer unit has no RCD. It has what we call an 80 amp fuse backing it up. Okay, here we go. Stripper. You like those strippers?
I did like those strippers.
A couple of runs, and then they let you down.
They let me down. They failed on me, yes.
Well, you actually nudged the stripping mechanism, didn't you?
I'm blaming the tools, so I'm not blaming me.
Yeah.
Blame the tools.
Okay, so we go. Neutral first. You're going to get him in the right hole. You did notice last time Paul spread his across two RCDs.
I learned that. Yeah, that's not the right thing to do.
Trying to make it tidy.
Looking pretty quick. Now you did change screwdriver at the last run as well because you weren't happy with this one.
I wasn't happy with that. No,
Before Matt Stab's getting a bit hungry. Look at that.
That was almost like the Rambo session.
Look at that. Yeah,
Still
John J.
holding it
Rambo.
there.
Yeah,
Right, this is good.
Yeah, 3 purple hearts.
Still holding that screwdriver.
Yeah, he loves it, doesn't he? Look at that. And still hungry.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I think we did. No, we didn't disinfect it.
No, we didn't.
There we go. Never mind.
So
the last guy's in Potago.
If anyone's going to get ill, it will be somebody who works for BT because they're on full sick pay for 6 months. Here we go. So just socket outlet to connect. Again, you thought the screwdriver was a little slack in there, didn't you?
It's a little bit slack, yeah.
Okay. You could have brought your own kit, couldn't you?
I could have done, yeah.
But you decided not to.
Tools.
Happy days. So socket outlet to connect looks quick, but remember we do speed them up a little bit in order to get them through. And this might not be your fastest run because remember this is the first of 3 runs. And it'd be interesting to see where those. Oh, they're pretty short, aren't they? Whether there's any time penalties there for screwing into the insulation. That's not a very good conductor. Back in the mouth, back out the mouth. The lube. And away we go. I noticed from the top, I'll give you some credit here for a man with grey hair. You've got a full set of hair there.
Yes.
Yes, it's fantastic. We've got the thinning rug coming next. So there we go. 2 connectors away, and then we're going to be in. And what I like about it, unlike most people that take on the challenge, you've actually used the handle of the screwdriver. Most people like to hold on to the shaft. Are you a shaft holder there, Gordon?
On the screwdriver? No, I use the handle of the screwdriver.
Okay. Yeah. Do you like holding the shaft, Michael?
Just depends.
Well, nearly there were 2 screws.
Right, 2 screws away. It's back in the mouth.
Remember that?
You ever had a tool belt?
You put it back in the mouth. There we go.
But that looks
Helps it to swivel through the fingers with a bit of lube.
Look determined. Here we go. Lay back and relax. Here we are. Let's not race. Oh, that's a bad technique for bending. I would suggest that's going to cause you problems in the future. Want to use those knees. So you twisted first, socket off second. Oh no, what we're doing here?
What are we doing here?
Wow, look at that. Leisurely pose.
Yeah. He's having a little rest there.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it don't look quick.
It's my telecom days.
Yeah, no point rushing.
No, normally this to disguise the fact
You've got
there's
to make that one job last all day.
Well, normally to disguise the fact there's no work happening, you erect a red and white tent. That's what we
Yeah,
used to do.
absolutely. Hide in there asleep. Get a little bit warm in there.
Right, here we go.
This is glacial, I would suggest. This is glacial. But I would just like to say to people, it's your fastest run, not your first run.
Yeah.
And some people improve a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, some have a lot to improve from, okay, but we'll see. So we've eventually got into
it
the
looks slow.
now. Yeah, it usually is slow.
is.
Yeah. Here we go. So, here we go.
There's a
And
lot of twist on that cable.
there is, yeah, he's gone a bit mad with the twist. Okay, so we're going to strip those back and see where we're up to. Okay, so short down the bottom, got yourself a little fly lead, and we're going to make those. Yeah, look at that. It's a little bit in it. But of a man of your age and spent that much time laying down, obviously at work, obviously you don't expect to have a full set of hair. So there we go, look a bit more there.
This is an interesting one here.
Looks like my garden in July, that does, when it hadn't had any rain for about 3 weeks. Yeah, just like brown patches everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Right, Michael. Oh, using combination wire strippers as well. Have you used them before?
Yes.
Yeah, like them?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you do a bit of home wiring? Did you wire your own inverter in? Batteries?
No.
You didn't?
I got an installer to put my inverter in.
Oh, right, well done.
But I do the ones in the office, but I have got the 18th edition. We do go.
Oh, you've got the 18th edition. You're fully qualified. Don't worry about it. Yeah. That's all good. You got the 16th, didn't you?
16th, I'm old school here.
Yeah, old school. EBADs.
Yeah.
Earth bonding to radiators.
Absolutely.
Direct and indirect contact. 4 zones in a bathroom. Or was it 3 back then? I can't remember. There was an extra zone. So there's an extra zone in the bathroom. No sockets allowed. Yeah, it's not
Knees are
quick.
gone.
Down in the old marital pool pose there. 1 knee. So that's good. But you look like you knew your way around a screwdriver, Michael. Let's give credit where credit is due. Okay, that didn't look too bad, and I think there is a massive room for improvement on that one.
Oh,
Okay.
hold on.
Oh, hello. What's going on here?
Hold on.
I thought he'd finished.
Meanwhile, back in the studios, this is meant to be 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. The edits, well, we've got a full run here, haven't we? Concentration. Right, okay.
There's a lot of look at the concentration on that.
I know.
Wow.
Got to go in the right
Is it
place.
in the right hole though?
Well,
Oh, yes.
Oh, we'll see.
don't know.
There we go.
Oh, insulation. That's not the best conductor in the world. I suppose you're used to insulation displacement, aren't you? Yeah, not used to this actually. Yeah, just getting in there, just giving it a squeeze, hope for the best. Squeeze it again, that'll be all right. Fantastic. One to go. Look, there's Rick back there. One arm, Rick. You notice that? His right arm's down by his shoulder. Lightning. Yeah, lightning. No, but weren't your best run?
No.
It wasn't your best run. You got quicker.
But do we have a tortoise and a hare scenario?
You might well have.
Well, let's see. I mean, looking across the board, you were out there straight away. There was someone you wanted to beat over there, didn't you?
It was, yes. I came, I saw a name I saw familiar on there was Neil Bridgman.
Yep.
I thought, you know, it's the middle of the road. I want to be above there.
It ain't middle of the road because there's another board over there.
Yeah,
so,
well, I
so it's
didn't see
actually,
that. Yeah,
it's
I didn't see the
it's
other
actually
board
quite
over
well
this
there.
side.
Now, when we think of Neil Bridgman, what do we think about Gordon when we think Neil Bridgman?
He's a big man.
Outrageous, I think.
Outrageous. I mean, obviously Neil was a fantastic sport when he came on, but he said anyone who does it over 4 minutes, that is just outrageous.
And what did he do it in 4:05?
So he himself is outrageous.
He is outrageous, but he bent as well as you did, Michael. I must admit, he folded himself in half as well as you did. Who are we going to start with?
I'll pick the one off the top first. I don't know. I haven't seen these. Oh, okay. Right. Ooh, there's a bit of a surprise there. So,
Who's starting with?
Michael. I'm starting with Michael.
Michael, what do you reckon, Michael? Now, I'd say there's some confidence.
I thought 4 minutes 30 would be.
Okay, if it's 4 minutes and 30, I'll give you the money. Let's ask it. 4:30. What do we got?
Actually 4:36.
Whoa.
Seconds.
Okay.
That puts them there in classic. This is Electrician territory by Steve
Yeah.
Parsons.
Electricians
Look at that.
territory,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go.
Fantastic.
Faster than Rick.
Well, when you say Rick, let's go over to here and then find Mr. Gaunt. Where are you, Mr. Gaunt? There you are. Okay, well done. You improved no end. No end, so well done.
Oh.
I would suggest that's a good time, Paul.
That is a very good time. I was not expecting that.
I wasn't
Oh, you weren't, were you?
Not expecting
You weren't
that
expecting
back.
that.
No, I was not expecting that. I'm quite worried now.
You ought
I
to
am
be.
really worried now, actually.
Yeah, I would be worried.
I would be worried
I would be
now,
worried
yeah.
if I was Neil Bridgman, because actually you have sneaked above Neil Bridgman.
Oh.
This is bang on the money.
No,
Yeah,
is
above
it
Richard
outrageous?
Haas.
No way.
We're sort of.
Oh, we're making a gap. Oh, we've got a three. Does it start with a 3?
It's exactly 4 minutes.
It's outrageous.
That is outrageous.
Still outrageous, though.
It's absolutely outrageous. Oh, Michael, brilliant. You improved no end. So, yeah, really good. I was rooting for you all the way through that, so, yeah, it was good.
In the senior league there.
Oh, yeah, that's top of, that's the fastest bloke from BT.
The only bloke from
The only one, is it?
Well, we can all run it round. Yeah. Fastest bloke to do it in, I don't know, brown shoes and a white shirt.
Yeah.
Well. Really good. So well done. We're just going to wait now. Someone's going to find out they've won. They'll get a chance to ring Jenny on the burner phone. And if you get a chance to do that, you'll get to win a prize. So you first of all had to choose Paul and be as near as possible to 4 minutes, but that was commendable to do that quick, Michael. Your first run was nearly 8.
Right, yeah.
Nearly 8.
Yeah, nearly 8. He was embarrassing
It
himself.
does go this high. It does go that high.
It goes the other way on that one.
Yeah, so it goes the opposite way around. Yeah, you don't want to be top of that one. You want to be top of the other one. Right, brilliant. So thank you ever so much for joining us on this subject that we'd like to delve into about this broken grid. And we think, obviously, you've got some things that are going to help us through that as we go. So we're going to start with maybe thinking about our system here, Gordon. So if this grid needs all the energy people can produce, our building here has got a plethora of solar panels on it.
It does. Well, we've put 20 kilowatts of solar and 50 kilowatts of battery going in.
Right.
Yes, I thought that's a lot of power.
That's a lot of power. 50 kilowatt hours of
Yes,
battery.
that's it. 50
Let's get
kilowatt
the
hours.
terminology correct.
That's it. That's good. It's good you said that actually, because people do correct you on that, especially. I mean,
Only when you get it wrong.
welcome to YouTube.
Yeah. It's not the only thing they like correcting you on, though, is it?
And obviously, as part of that process, we have the G98, G99, G100. Yep, and obviously, because we wanted to export more than our G98 limit, which is 3.6 kilowatts per phase, we had to apply for G99. Takes months. I don't know if everyone takes months, or it was just us they ignored. And ours came back.
Oh, right, brilliant.
Yeah,
Got some paperwork there, Gordon. You like a bit of paperwork, don't you?
a lot of power. Obviously, we're in the northern power grid area. And obviously this is ours here. And out of our 50 kilowatts we could potentially export, they gave us 11.
Oh, right,
That's
okay.
not very good. 11 kilowatts.
Yeah, which is essentially a G98.
98, yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that because
16 amps per phase.
the people at Northern Power Grid can't be bothered? Just to sort of you just waft it through just to get rid of us?
That's an easy piece of paperwork, that is. Just give them the minimum.
Yeah. Now, could we object to that, you think?
You could probably object. You could put you could object to it.
Right. So what's obviously G98 anyone can have.
Yep.
Yep. Does anyone ever put a G98 in and get 0 back?
I've seen people put G99s in and have 0 export.
Right. Okay. So
I've seen that before now. So they'd have been better off putting the G98 in.
Yeah.
Because they'd have got the minimum.
Okay. And then I added up round here what I could have done, because we've actually got 2 meters. I should have split the solar across 2 meters.
And put two applications in.
Yeah.
You'd have got 11 kilowatts on both.
Yeah. Which seems a little bit unfair.
Yeah.
And is that why do we do it? Why do we need G99?
Yeah. Why can't you just go for G98 is what they're saying.
Well, why couldn't I just
have it and be done with it?
Why are they limiting me? There's something I
I
don't
don't know.
We are close to the substation.
It's not necessarily how close you are to the substation. It's how many consumers are on your leg of that substation.
Right.
So if you're exporting at full power during the day on a busy weekday, there's probably not a problem. Mm-hmm. Because during the week, your neighbours, they're all using your power that you're exporting. Worst case scenario is the weekends. So it's a nice sunny Saturday afternoon. Nobody's in the office. All the business units are closed. Where's that power going to go? It's going to go to the transformer. Mm-hmm. That transformer's got nothing to do with it. So the transformer's going to get hot. Mm-hmm. And then that's yours. Then your neighbour's doing the same. Your neighbour's doing the same. So they have to be fair. Mm. So that's why they impose limits.
Yeah.
Because your local infrastructure is not man enough.
Right. So why wouldn't that be dynamic though? Why wouldn't it be we have demand, you can export more, and then
Because they have to give you the same limit as they would your neighbour.
Yeah.
So if your neighbour was to apply for the same amount of power, they would get the same. Mm. What you could look at is go back to the DNO, actually ring them up, and a lot of DNOs, certainly Western Power or National Grid as they are now, they are quite amenable, and you ring them up and you can negotiate with them. Mm-hmm. You potentially get this changed.
Right. Yes.
No guarantee.
Yeah.
But you could.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll try, because that scenario is exactly right for this area, because we're on an industrial estate. There's no houses down here. During the week it probably goes to the granola factory, a few doors down, or where to prepare the fish and chips. But the weekend,
you ain't going anywhere.
It
makes lots of sense. They'll probably put this drop the transformer on here for the industrial estate, and then they'll realise 2 days a week it's hardly used anything. And
it may also be a fact, and it's because it came back so quickly, they may not have even done the sums. Is the actual loop impedance of your circuit?
Yeah.
I say you already know you're near the transformer, so that's not your problem. If you've got a high loop impedance, then if you start exporting power to the grid, the voltage would rise much quicker on a high loop impedance.
Yeah. Out of the 10 pages, there's a lot about voltages. No longer accept the voltage limits at our terminals once we've put solar in. So
So it'd be nice to see once you start exporting how your voltage reacts.
Right.
If it goes up through the roof,
then
you've got a high loop impedance.
Yeah, right, okay.
If it doesn't, I'd be contesting it and saying, look, we can export more.
Yeah.
But they're missing a trick, aren't they? Because we've said at the start of the show, the power grid is broken, and you agree with that, Michael, so strongly. You've had some wonderful examples where the grid was in absolute distress.
Absolutely.
And actually people connected to the system actually came in and salvaged that moment.
That's correct, yep.
Just before we go back to Hammond with his loop supply and how much he can get, just to break it up there, give us an example when the grid's under incredible stress and this system that we're going to talk about this evening did save the day.
Yeah, so a lot of your subscribers will have heard of the demand flexibility scheme, where the grid is predicted to be under stress.
Right.
So people, batteries, local batteries, commercial, they're requested to reduce their demand or export at certain times. Approximately a month ago, it was a Sunday afternoon, a day when you wouldn't expect the grid to be under stress.
Right.
Then I was sat watching television, and as I do, I've got alarms on my inverter when things go wrong, and I noticed that the grid voltage dropped to 49.8 hertz, which is quite low. you know, considering it's supposed to be a nominal 50. And 0.2 hertz is on the way down. What actually then happened is you've then got this called what's a frequency demand services, which a lot of energy providers take part in, more so on the commercial side. So what they would have done is all of those thousands of inverters around the country, commercial, would have recognised that the grid was under stress, and they would have all suddenly started to export. The very thing that you're not allowed to do. All of it exported, and within a few seconds, the grid recovered, back up to 50 hertz.
Now,
And that was all completely automatic.
but that's not the source of the problem. They're not dumping this in, let's say a power station's gone down. We're actually doing this across the whole of the network.
Across the whole of the network,
to bring
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
Is there an issue if they just dumped it in, say, if you did a localised dump?
Yes, if you dumped all of this power in one area, then because the infrastructure is quite poor, it wouldn't be able to sustain that in one area.
Right.
So if you injected all of this power in one part of the grid, it's unlikely that power will be able to spread across the entire country.
Right.
So you need to distribute that export.
And that's great, as well as worrying, because obviously that event on a Sunday was caused by certain circumstances.
It was what we call the Swiss cheese analogy, where there's three minor incidents all happened at the same time, which caused almost near blackout.
Like a scene from Engineering Disasters, the way he was describing it there. It was Sunday afternoon, it was sunny, and I was sat down at home. And I noticed the frequency drop. It was like
alarm went off.
the phone rang.
But again, I think it's actually a great story, because the system, we haven't even adopted it yet, and we're all worried about once we all go fully electric in everything, heating, cars, and all the rest of it, that the system's going to fall over. Well, we just proved it didn't, because of the way currently we've started that connectivity.
Yeah, these grid services are still in the trial stages at the moment.
Now, I mean, well, when solar on the roof, it was, we did the calculations and stuff like that. How much power do we need? And all this, really carefully calculated what's our maximum demand. And then we looked at the price of solar panels. We just said, no, just fill the roof. Because the most expensive thing out there was actually the scaffolding to get on the roof.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's just the price of solar panels. A little bit of Ross's time and Rick watching them work in the background.
Yeah, we paid him to watch it.
And it was, so obviously the actual panels are so cheap.
They are cheap.
It's, we have this, well, not essentially, it is free power for the grid, because they haven't actually paid for the infrastructure. We've paid for it.
You've paid for it.
And everyone's paying for it.
So they're getting it for free.
Yeah. And yet they won't pay to necessarily reinforce the grid to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sucks to be us then, doesn't it? Doesn't it? The people at the other end who are seeing energy prices creeping up and then are deciding to jump on solar to reduce their energy bills, but actually also helping the grid in their darkest hour, I would suggest at that time.
But you were saying, who's been to Australia? Who's watching the Australian market? Somebody said you have to pay.
Oh, in Australia, you have to pay to export.
Right. I mean, that's
in some
bonkers.
states, because they have too much PV. And that's my concern, is what happens when we get to PV saturation, where every house or every other house has a PV system. What do you do with that energy?
Store it.
Yeah.
Stick it in a battery.
Yeah.
Save it for a cloudy day. It'll stay in a battery for quite a while, and then use it when you need it.
But that comes back to the car, doesn't it? So you chuck it in your car, you chuck it in your heating system. You're doing it. But you're right. When does adoption become over-adoption? We see loads of fields being converted and all the rest of it. How many industrial units really want their roofs doing? We've started ours and all the rest of it. We're an early adopter in Skipton. We're not seeing many big scaffoldings going up, are we, Gordon?
No, but it was interesting, because I looked at Northern Power Grid. You go on, they've sort of plotted this out to 2050. How much storage is going to be? How much solar? So if they're doing that, they make their decisions on network infrastructure like a long time in advance, because obviously their kit has to last for decades. Yeah. Well, they're sort of predicting, and actually probably every industrial unit down here will have solar and will have a battery. So actually,
that's why they've crippled you.
Yeah, we don't need to invest, because there'll be this. Most people will be sort of self-sufficient during the day to a degree.
They're predicting every industrial estate on it is going to do the same.
Yeah.
So if they give you 11 kilowatts, he'll get 11 kilowatts, he'll get 11 kilowatts.
Yeah. But I think at the moment with residential systems, we've got what they call power ups. So that's free electricity when there's too much wind power generation. So the companies are offering us the ability to use as much energy as we like for nothing.
Yeah.
Within that hour.
Because it's cheaper to give it away for free than it is to shut a power station down.
Yeah, but it's interesting. In our case, we could we can't do that locally, isn't it? It's almost like there might be someone on the other side of the railway line in energy poverty. We can't get rid of we'd just literally have to stop production here. And can't get rid of it. We can have batteries full, but there isn't. It's a shame that we can't actually trade locally.
And I think that's another thing that's probably going to come along as we get more saturation is, will we have local cooperatives between a number of users who've got this system and a sufficient battery? Can they join together and can they supply those that haven't got the PV and batteries as part of a network? So I think there are a lot of things that are probably going to come along in time, and we have to wait for these to develop. And I think we need to get a bit more maturity in our governments and those to understand what this actually means, what going eco, going green means, and being energy sufficient without using gas and fossil fuels to generate the energy. Because PV is not always guaranteed, and neither is wind power always guaranteed. So if you can get through those periods when you're not generating by battery storage to bring that along, to keep your house maintained and running, I think that's the direction we're going to take. And then obviously you've got to think about, you need to be able to support the whole house, not just one portion of it. There's no point just to point the kettle if that's all the energy you can generate. So I think at Solar and Storage last time we met, we were talking about the vision that we had, which is everyone becoming small micro generators. So having more than one inverter to increase the amount of output that you can generate, so you can support the whole house. So when you put the oven on and the kettle on and the toaster on, you're supporting all that without drawing from grid if it's in short supply.
I'll do the hokey cokey. I knock the oven off. I do the kettle for the gravy, go back and knock the oven on there. I'm not that often do the microwave. I try and stay under it. Mr. Agile, I don't want to do that.
And I think that's definitely the way that the market is trending from what we're seeing with other offerings that are out there. So, and that's what GivEnergy has been supplying.
But what you bring on there is that community energy.
Yeah.
That brings us on to a topic called virtual power plants, which is this new thing, a virtual power plant. What is a virtual power plant? That's where you have this cooperative of battery storage, PV storage in various areas of the country, and you can switch them on and off at will. So if one area of the country has got more load than another, you can, rather than up a power station, you could have a virtual power plant from, say, 1,000 houses all outputting into that local area to boost up the grid. To take away the stress.
We saw that in Wales, didn't we, where they did that there, and it was managed by an outside app manager. You didn't have to worry. They'll dump it in your car, they'll dump it in your battery, dump it in your hot water tank, and leave it alone. Now, before we get back to that, what about this thing that we'd like to call as energy trading? Okay, because you're a big fan of this.
I am,
and this is worth it, because if you want to learn how to save a few quid, Thrifty Michael's going to give you a masterclass on it.
Okay, so I'll try and do a masterclass. So. You need a tariff where you can have a cheap rate at a certain time of day, which is generally when it's green.
Tell us what the tariff is. It doesn't matter.
For mine, so I'm on Octopus Flux. It's not the intelligent version. It means I control it. I get 3 hours to charge my batteries at 15 pence.
Right. How many batteries you got?
I have 2.
How many kilowatt hours is that?
About 18 kilowatt hours.
18. Wow. Yeah.
And I charge my batteries up fully. I export all my PV because I get paid 15p for it in normal daytime running, and if it gets sunshine into peak period, I get about 28 pence a kilowatt. So all my PV goes out as export.
So hang on, so you're buying it at 15, selling it at 15.
So I'm buying it at 15, selling my daytime energy from PV, which I'm not paying for 15 pence. So it's 15 pence profit for every kilowatt. And then at peak time, I dump my batteries down to about 30% and get peak time at 28 pence.
So the 15,
so buy it at 15,
one for one.
Sell it at 28.
So you want to get it at 28 with energy in your battery. So
and then leave sufficient to run till the next charge period and repeat the process.
Because you've learnt your own cycle. You understand your own energy use. Okay, and that's not hard to do. I've had a year's worth of fun doing that. And
because he's told us about it every day.
It's good fun.
It hasn't been fun.
No. So you understand your energy use there.
Yes.
So electric bills using that, how much are your electric bills?
So July, my electric bill was just the standing charge, and it was only the standing charge for the electricity and a portion of the gas.
So what's your electric bill then?
It was about £21, £22.
For what, a month?
for a month.
Right.
That includes gas.
Right. So tenner? Would you say 10, 11 quid?
No, I didn't pay any electricity.
But you had paid standing charge. I don't know how much standing charge. Is it a couple
It's just standing
It'd be like
charge.
50p a day.
50p a day?
50p a day,
So
50p per day, and then plus the gas meter.
the beauty of that, just thinking of that one, is surely your payback time is incredibly quick.
Sure.
It shortens it, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Have you
does.
got any stats on how much quicker?
No,
it could
I
be?
have not. I need to go and recalculate that. I've not done the calculation for that.
Right.
But you've got a small solar array, haven't you?
3 kilowatt.
Yeah, so 3 kilowatt array, but
3 kilowatt array
And 18
generally on a
kilowatt.
sunny day will generate between 12 and 15 kilowatts for the day.
yeah, but you've got an 18 kilowatt battery. So it's always, everyone always makes the mistake on battery. You see these fantastic offers online, don't you? It's like 6 kilowatts on the roof.
Yeah, and a
inverter
2.5 battery.
and a small battery.
That's not going to do you any
Biggest
good.
mistake most installers make is undersizing the amount
Yeah.
of storage.
Oh,
Oh, what are the chances? He told me to have one
Yeah.
battery at 5.2
Yeah.
kilowatt hours. He
It's-
did.
it's-
Yeah,
it's-
what are the chances?
It's the number one question we get on our Facebook group is, I've had this system installed, this lovely system, how do I go about adding another battery?
Yeah.
Is the number one question we get
I
asked.
rang Sean. Yeah, and he came along. with
Yeah, I mean, I did some tests on a non-PV generating day, so I didn't generate anything. It was a horrible, thundery day. It was black as anything.
Mid-August.
No PV,
Mid-August.
and did my process of charging. Didn't export anything. Export my batteries at peak time, and then recharge, and I made 80 pence profit.
On that bombshell, 80 pennies. Hey?
80 pence. You say 80 pence, but that's 80 pence for doing what? For nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, you made 80 pence. I'm
Yeah.
over the
But
moon for
that's
it.
a whole. That's
We'll have a drink
that's
afterwards. We'll see how
whole-
quick you get to the bar. Let the old leg goes, doesn't it? Oh, we're getting there. We're
80
getting there.
pence for every day of the year.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, no, don't get me.
yeah,
I
it's-
get it, and I do love the fact that we can do this. And again, I've had that journey. One battery wasn't enough, and then I was struggling. The battery got filled up too quick, and then if I was out, I was exporting, and all the rest. You get two batteries. And he said to me when he fitted the second one, "There's a gap here for that third one," and I was like, "I don't need a third one." And
Yeah.
you're right. I've got to the end
You
of the
do.
year and just thought to myself, I'm struggling to get through on 10 kilowatts because of the buffer you have to leave in. I'm struggling to get through, and often I wake up in the morning and halfway through the night we're back onto flat battery.
And then you need a second inverter that runs with your first inverter, so you can export double the amount.
Yeah, you can do, or I can change. Yeah, we've got a chance to change mine. Ross said I could have that 5 kilowatt one if he gets the bigger one, so I'll swap mine out. But these are lessons people
you're
need to
not
have
using
learned.
yours. You're not using that. I'm not saying smart yet. You haven't gone on a smart tariff yet.
Not
have you?
yet. No. I said I'd do at least a year
Yeah.
and understand my system, and then because what I didn't want to do is because when you're on a tariff that gives you cheap energy, it gives you really expensive energy at times, and it's 46
Correct.
pence or
But
something.
if you plan it correctly, you save it. Because if you're exporting during your peak period and you're
Yeah.
still saving 40% at the end of that export that you want to export down,
Yeah, but
you're still
alone.
covering anything that you're doing in that peak period anyway in the export, so you're exporting slightly less.
problem is though, you see, Gary's away during the week. He's bad enough for the family now. I really feel for them. I really do sometimes because he'll phone them up and tell them when to have a shower.
I think as a general rule, if you're going to choose a tariff, then as long as you choose a tariff where your buy price is as low as you can get it, and your sell price, your export, is as high as you can get it. One example is Intelligent Octopus Go, the car tariff, 7 pence in, 15 pence out.
And that's fixed.
All
That's fixed.
Yeah.
day
All
long.
day, every day.
What, 7 pence in?
Yeah.
7 pence at night.
Ah, right,
so
yes,
you charge
okay.
up during the night
Yeah.
whilst you're charging your car.
Yeah.
Your PV all day long at 15 pence out to the grid.
Yeah.
And then whatever you've got left in your battery, sell it back at 15 pence.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to 11 o'clock at night, start all over again.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
So you asked Mike for some examples of his tariff. So I've got a full all-electric house, 2 EVs, and from April through to September, my bills were negative.
right. How much PV you got on the roof?
I got 6 kilowatts,
All right, so it's not a massive amount of PV.
40 kilowatt hours of storage.
Okay, so it's all bigger batteries.
about
all going to need a bigger battery.
Well, it is.
All about storage.
I found that out in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
when I
it's
had
all
mine
about
in.
storage.
5.2.
If
Could
you've
that
got
be
if you've
plenty,
got the
Gary?
storage,
Plenty.
you can get your return on investment right down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you talked about earning 46 quid in a day.
I did, yeah.
So I'll just say that again for anyone who didn't hear it. 46 pounds, not the 80 pence you were chuffed with earlier on.
No.
40, how did you earn
So
46 quid?
during the winter, they were running support the grid sessions. So they would pay you for exporting your energy, and they were paying about £3.80 a kilowatt
£3.80
I think
a
the
kilowatt.
peak was £4.
£4 a kilowatt. So basically,
I can export at 7.2 kilowatts an hour.
so you dumped your entire battery because it's £4.
Yeah.
And obviously stopped your own consumption.
Down to flat.
Yeah.
Everything went out of the batteries.
You know what? I guess that.
Down to flat because
You run an extension lead in from next
it
door.
doesn't matter. When I'm charging the batteries up again, I've already made enough money to cover that.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And you used a similar system over a period of time, made 300 quid.
Yeah, over £300 was the last DFS season.
Right. Okay. And how easy is that to get involved with?
Very. Sign up with your supplier. He'll tell you when the events are going to happen, generally on the day or before.
That alert on an
Alert on your phone,
email or on your app?
email,
Right, okay.
and then or on your supplier's app.
Yep.
But that can
And
be
you just go and you set your battery up to do what you want it to do.
Is that the same supply that you use for energy? Or could that...
You can do it with your same supplier, or you could sign up for somebody.
Yeah.
Like-
There's that Loop, for example.
Yeah, Loop.
Do one.
Right.
Or if you've got a GivEnergy equipment, it can be completely automated for you.
Right.
You have to do nothing. You just sign up. And whenever there's an event, it's all done automatically.
Wow, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I want to hear it's all done automatically.
So
And
you-
just bang
so
the 46 quid in
You will
the
get an
account.
email on the morning, there's an event today, and
Yeah.
you'll get an email the following day saying you've made £14.10.
And it'll pre-charge your batteries up to a state ready to go.
Right. Now, would Gary have to obviously berate the family and tell them not to use energy during that?
Well, see,
period?
unfortunately, Gary hasn't got GivEnergy equipment.
Right. Yeah.
No, okay, yeah, but we have got a story about a pizza. Anyone like to tell me a story about a pizza?
So during this £4 event, which is
Where were you at this time?
I was not at home. I was at the office. So everything was all automated. It was
You went
all,
home that evening, did you?
I didn't go home. No, I was away at the office.
Oh, where's the office?
Stoke-on-Trent.
Okay, so you were staying in a nice hotel?
No, Airbnb.
Yeah. So a
It's
little
a
bit
very
of
nice
food,
B&B.
A little bit of food out
A little bit of
from the
food,
company, was it?
food on the
So
company.
you've had
Table for one.
Table for one.
Yeah, a little
And,
glass or something on the side. I'm just envisaging your meal before we discuss what the kids
Oh,
are
yeah,
going to do.
I
So you were having a
lovely
free
takeaway.
meal out in the company with a glass of red.
That's exactly
Yeah,
it,
and
yeah.
you've noticed an event, so you've rang home and instructed
Yep.
what to happen.
So, well, I knew there was an event on, and I knew what the time of the event was. So, me being a control freak, I was checking my system, what my system was doing, because I wanted everything on that day. Every watt I owned went out of the door. That was the plan, because I want £4 per kilowatt. And I noticed I was 2.5 kilowatts missing. So I was like, where is my I'm 2.5 kilowatts missing.
Tenner.
That's like
That's it.
That's a tenner. That's a tenner an hour. Where is it gone? So the rest of my system, I've got CT clamps on all of the stuff in my house.
I thought you were saying CCTV.
And I realised that.
He's
got that as
Hang on a
well.
minute. The oven's on. The family were specifically told there's a £4 event, minimal
They
usage.
should have cold sandwiches.
My wife has decided she was going to cook a pizza
Wow, at dinner time.
during the DFS session.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care if it's tea time. It was a DFS session at £4. So I quickly got on the phone to my wife and I says, "What are you doing?" "I'm cooking a pizza for your son. He's hungry." "Do you realise there's a DFS session on at £4? "I don't care if there's a DFS session. He's hungry." And I said, "Do you realise that pizza's cost me £12 for you to cook that pizza? It was cheaper for you to go out to the shop and go and buy one
You know,
than it was to cook it."
dry pasta's
And,
so overrated
yeah,
these
it is,
days.
yeah.
There was a few choice words which we cannot air, and she hung up.
Yeah.
He got his pizza.
Yeah.
You do the same.
Yeah, well,
And you
I might have
pay.
instructed people to use energy, like my kids are laying in bed and like, get up and have a shower because I think I've got a tank full of hot water. I need you to drain the tank off.
And that's the other thing. So I don't heat my hot water with spare PV. There's no point because I can buy my gas cheaper and heat my tank for 58 pence a day instead of spending £1.50 heating it.
Lost profit.
And that's so key
Yeah.
for us, folks. So we're trying to save fossil fuels, but because it's cheaper to use gas. Michael's gone away. He's gone and heated his hot water with gas, so he can keep that electricity or send it back to grid to make a few quid.
I offset my costs
Oh, you're planting trees
because
at the weekend, are you?
I use green energy.
I just think that's a...
There we go.
If you're at the solar and storage at the next week, pop along to the GivEnergy stand and berate them about their use of gas, I would suggest.
And I'll tell you how easy it is to do.
Oh, sure it is. No. I put mine in my hot water tank.
But can we just get this? There's no them here. It's
No.
just there's no them.
The pools were together. No, so you've won the race. Well, you've got to be there to support him on that one.
Now, obviously, we've talked a lot about domestic there. Do these same deals apply in industry? You know, so obviously
Yes.
we've got to have a
very
battery.
lucrative deals in industry,
Yeah.
especially on the frequency demand side.
Right.
Where you know,
Well, what's frequency demand?
this is what we talked about earlier, where the grid is under stress.
They weren't watching it then.
Ah, they
Yeah,
weren't
yeah,
watching
so
it.
I'll do that again. What's frequency demand, Paul?
So the frequency demand service is where you sign up to a scheme and your inverter is placed on standby to support the grid.
So it's doing nothing.
It's doing nothing,
Okay.
but it's on standby.
Right, but it's not doing anything for me.
Not for you, no.
So it's gone away from me and it's waiting for something to happen, yeah?
Yeah, you've given it to the grid. They're going to look after it.
All right, great. And what do I get for that?
You get a little daily sum. So whilst your inverter's on standby, we'll pay you.
What if it's not on standby but I'm in the system? Will I get paid to not be on standby? Do I have to be on standby?
Yeah, the inverter would have to be on standby. You have to be signed up to the scheme, and the grid is on. Your inverter is on standby.
Right, okay.
You get paid.
And what could that be? What could that put in my pocket?
It depends, £3, £4, £5 a day.
Right, okay.
It depends, you know. It's more aimed at the commercial side.
And that's a fee for being on it?
standby.
And then they'll pay for my energy as well?
Yes.
And will that be a premium rate or the standard rate?
It varies. It depends on the scheme.
Right, okay.
So you could be looking at 30, 40, 50 pence a kilowatt.
Okay.
Right, as
So
well
I could reserve some of my battery. If I put 50 kilowatt battery in, estimate we might use, I don't know, you know,
So
half of
a
that.
lot of the pilot schemes that are running now, again, commercial, residential, is during the day you're allowed to use your battery, but you sign up to say that you'll reserve 50%, 30%, whatever you can afford to reserve in your battery for the grid service.
That's clever.
And they'll call on that just if the
And they'll
frequency
call on it,
drops.
yeah, if the frequency drops. So what tends to happen is the inverter will be placed on standby. There'll be a very, very quick response from the energy aggregators or your energy supplier, and your inverter will be given a signal. You are now on standby. So if the inverter's got enough reserve, it'll carry on doing what inverter does.
So
quite
if you're
happily.
at 75%,
It'll carry on doing
makes
inverter
sense.
things.
Yeah.
But then when you get down to this level that you've said you're going to reserve, the inverter will sleep.
Right.
And it will sit there and wait. And it will be monitoring the grid frequency at all times for that dip. As soon as the frequency dips, the inverter will spring into life and output its power.
Right.
But you imagine not one inverter's doing this. There are thousands,
That's clever.
Yeah.
You know, and
all at the same time.
we've all had that conversation in our own head. We're going electric. We're never going to cope, and all the rest of it. We're in the very early stages of this.
Very
and
early
it's
stages.
already in place,
Yeah.
and the thoughts are there to say,
Yeah,
we understand the more stress we put on it, the more we're going to need these
Correct.
systems to kick
Yeah.
in. It's super
I
clever.
guess these systems have been around at a high commercial level for quite a while, but now they're coming to the lower level, the SME level, and also the residential.
Yeah. I looked at a company a while ago. There's a company called Kiwi Energy. I don't know if they did the opposite. So they had boxes on. They had a deal with one of the hotel chains to put boxes on all their air conditioning plant. So if there was a grid event, they could switch off air conditioning in hundreds of hotels. And they used to sell their capacity to reduce energy back to the grid.
Yeah, but the Octopus did something similar, didn't they, with air source heat pumps?
Right.
Yeah.
They did a scheme where there was a certain hour of the day and they would switch your air conditioning off,
Yeah.
your air source heat pump off.
So this is like the reverse. This is saying we've
exactly.
got all this battery capacity and we can call on that the other way around.
Exactly
So
the other way
we
around,
might knock some loads off somewhere and then bring on some
Correct. Or if you
battery
do the
loads.
two together.
Yeah, and that's
Super clever. Because that's an American thing, isn't it? They used to turn people's air conditions off, didn't they? So you-
rush hour rewards,
Yeah.
early days of Google Nest.
yeah, because obviously their infrastructure is made of cheese. So
Yeah.
that's why there's
Not linked necessarily together.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, and Texas is awful by all accounts, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he reckons Tesla could have solved that problem as well, didn't he? So you'd be the version here, X, Y, and Z. You can save the system by putting it in, can you? Solve the problem.
So we're thinking the grid's broken, but actually we're part of the solution as
We
well.
are part of the
We're part of the problem, but we're also part of the solution.
So we are now what we call, there's a new word, and it's called prosumer.
Yeah.
So we're no longer consumers, we are producers and consumers. So there's this prosumer word. That's what we are.
And that applies as much to industry as it does.
Absolutely.
That's where people forget. Everyone sees loads of pictures of batteries in people's houses and stuff like that, but you don't see that many yet in wider industry.
And I guess the thing to think about here is you don't need PV to do this.
No,
Yeah.
You
we've
just
said
need an inverter and battery. I mean, and for your viewers, that's ideal because you don't have to be solar registered to install an inverter and battery.
Yeah.
You can just install them.
And so putting the batteries in just like dropping a generator into a
Correct.
site, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you're an industrial consumer who's on maximum demand, you can avoid your maximum demand charge by putting a big battery in.
Yeah.
And that's what we did at Joe Hammond's with your system. So that's exactly the system we did there. He put himself in 13 or 14 kilowatts. And he's got that luxury now of taking the cheap energy to charge and then using it throughout the day. And obviously some of the other stuff that we talked about there. And we've been saying for a long time, the scaffold's horrendously expensive. Someone's going to go and make an effort of your roof and all the rest of it. Sometimes the easiest solution is just staring you in the face.
So drop a battery in.
Yeah, drop a battery in and being.
And if you find your payback's shorter than you thought and you're earning more money than you thought, then put some PV in.
And that's what Joe's going to do next.
Yeah.
So Joe's on that journey to add PV to his system, which is fantastic. So hopefully the story continues on. We had a battery-only solution.
So on that bombshell, Gary,
Yeah.
we're going to just take a little break. If we're ready, we'll go across to the Allbro Inbox and see what there, and we'll bring Joe Hammond in after the break.
This is my favourite.
Welcome to this week's Allbro Inbox, where we answer some of the tough questions thrown our way on social media, email, and the age-old communication method of the post. Our first question relates to MC4 connectors. Following our recent video, The Ultimate Guide to the MC4 Connector, over to Gary in the legal department.
These are MC4 connectors, and these are solar DC connectors. MC4 is a protected trademark of Staubli, and trademarks can cause all sorts of issues.
Look at this pothole. It's going to need a bit of tarmac.
I think you'll find that's asphalt.
I think I'm going to need an Hoover.
I think you'll find that's a vacuum cleaner.
I'm covering this ceiling in Artex.
I think you'll find that's a textured ceiling finish. Are you installing MC4 connectors or solar DC connectors? Regulations and guidelines stress the importance of not mixing different brands of DC connections. This can pose a fire hazard. There is only one brand of MC4. Check out the linked video to learn more.
Cheers, Gary. Continuing with the topic of legals, Joe had a few questions during his recent review of the Ring Pro Smart Doorbell.
So are we allowed to record public roads on video doorbells like this one here? Well, the answer is yes. You are allowed to record a public road and a public footpath, but there can be issues when we put people in them. And this issue falls under the Data Protection Act, or GDPR. So how can we make sure that we don't fall foul of data protection? One way to comply with data protection is signage, like these neat little things that you get with Ring doorbell. That lets everybody know that audio and video recording is taking place. Another point is if someone was to request that footage, then you would be legally obliged to allow them access to it. Under data protection law, you should only hold that footage for what is deemed a reasonable amount of time. And if someone was to object to being recorded, then those recordings need to be destroyed immediately. But to avoid all of this, when you're fitting recording equipment in your home, it's always good to just go and have a chat with your neighbours just to make sure they're happy with being recorded, like I did. Is it okay if I record you? No. So there we have it. Make sure you're sailing in the right direction when it comes to data protection.
Thanks for clearing that one up, Joe. This week, we launched a new CPD on electrical testing, and one viewer noted that Joe made a big continuity error. Let's turn it over to Gary to rectify the situation.
So user QZ1EB5JI40 has posted in saying that test method 1 is not a correct way to do R1 plus R2. You need to disconnect the circuit CPC and connect it to the live and then do your test. The way you have shown, you are testing parallel paths and getting incorrect readings. You should know better. Okay then, Quizzy Bob, let's have a look at what a parallel path actually is. A parallel path is something which is metal and offers a return path back to Earth. Something like tray, basket, trunking, and RSJ. Or any other extraneous metal parts which could offer a lower resistance in certain other tests. Inspectors should be aware that extraneous conductive parts can have an impact in their testing, and in most cases it's just impossible to be able to disconnect all of those extraneous conductive parts. So when it comes to carrying out continuity of protective conductors including main and supplementary bonding, do we need to disconnect the CPC? Well, the answer's no. The impact is absolutely minimal, but don't just take my word for it. Have a look here at Guidance Note 3. You can, of course, disconnect the CPC and test the circuit individually, but you're going to put a bit more wear and tear on that earthing terminal. So there we go. Hope that's answered your question.
That's all, bro, for now. I look forward to hearing next time's comments, which I bet will be tough, but I doubt they'll be tougher than this GRP box.
Need to talk. Come on.
I'm in the room. I'm in
Yes,
the room.
come on.
Well, no, I've been brought in to talk about my 6 kilowatt supply, which was granted to me. What did we get supplied here?
Well, we can export well, G99 you're on about, Joe, isn't it?
Oh, after G99, yeah, sorry.
Now, let's just get this correct. You put an EV charger in.
Yes.
What's the problem with your EV charger in the supply?
Well, the biggest problem with my EV charger, and this is a known problem, is that it's looped. So I am on is it the primary? So I'm the primary side of the loop supply. Now, this was, so I made my DNO aware of this when I installed an EV charger. And it all started with, right, we're going to come out and we're going to unloop you. And that was quite some time ago now. And then the next G99 I went in for the all-in-one and gateway. And yeah, there was no problem. And they gave me all of that 6 kilowatts.
Yeah, so you can export 6. You're on a single phase supply and can
Single
push
phase
6 kilowatts out.
Looped supply.
Yeah, in the middle of Lincolnshire. That's on the left-hand side of the A1 if you're heading south. Nothing happens out there. You'll probably never go there. But,
So our single phase version is 3.6.
yeah, we got half of what he got. So, and he's on a loop supply.
Yeah. There's no wrong reason to it, is there? It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Now, is that because you're helping them out, though? Because some of that power goes next door and eases. It's not coming through you. You're sending a bit each way. Or you could be.
Could be, yes.
Well, yeah, it's a 50-50 split, isn't it? Half to the left and half to the right.
Yeah.
So are we saying that if in a power cut and I come over into island mode, that my next door neighbour, lovely Babs, if you're watching, she's going to be.
Because she'll be in island
No, 'cause
mode
she's
and it
on
won't be going out.
Yeah, you wouldn't be islanded then, would you, if you're connected to your neighbour?
You can take an
Absolutely
extension
not.
lead.
Throw an extension lead through the window.
One with the commando socket.
Yeah,
Put one in there so you can link it up.
What if it was an MK? It would just be an industrial plug and socket, wouldn't it? Because Commando was made by MK. Just thought I'd get that one in. You're welcome. If I'm going to correct people for tarmac.
Yeah. And the interesting thing I do notice about you had 3 pages in your G99 reply. Yeah. I got 10. So I've got less power but more paper.
And more conditions.
There's a lot of conditions in it, and I'm quite scary, some of those conditions, but yeah, you just like, yeah, get on with it. And actually, no, hold on. That page is empty. Look at that.
2.5 pages then.
2.5 pages you got. And I've got like...
There we go. God bless the national grid.
So you're living with a battery-only solution, which I've always thought was a good solution as it stands at the moment. Maybe that'll change in time. Talk me through your experience of, you're 6 months or so in. You're obviously going to get solar next, but that's due to circumstances as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Talk me through what it's like with a battery system and how you're working that battery over.
So my battery... so it charges itself when my tariffs are at its lowest. So I'm on Octopus Agile at the moment. So through different periods, and it depends what's happening out within the network, whether it's windy, sunny, and stuff like that. And you get your what I call my scores, 4 o'clock every day. That's next day's available tariff.
Right.
Now, I've got slightly obsessed with this.
Have you?
Yes, because...
Really?
I have, because I will wait until 4 o'clock and I will jump in, see where...
Do you have an alarm set for 4 o'clock?
Yeah, maybe. And I will set my battery, so I'm forced charging it to charge at these really cheap rates. So I could be charging my battery at sometimes, 13p. It can be as low as 2p. I've had periods where I'm being paid to charge my battery.
Yeah.
Where I've had, all these, where we've had, good sun, good wind, and it's great. So, at those times, it was a warm day. I've got the oven on. I mean, I've had about 6 jacket potatoes that day. I've got the air fryer going. I've got
pizzas.
Did you put the immersion on?
Kept 2 in there. So...
it was great. Charged the battery up to 6 kilowatts. And do you know what? I'm now finding the pattern of my battery. So, I've got into this routine with it. It loves coming on probably middle of the day between 12 and 3, half 3. Because I was always in this mindset that it wanted to come on, kind of what you'd call the old economy 7 period.
Or as we like to call it, people who haven't got a smart meter.
You're welcome.
In which case, you'll be with Utility Warehouse, because they have the best economy 7 deal.
But yeah, but no, some of those cheaper rates aren't in those what we would consider the old off-peak times. They're coming in the middle of the day, and that's where I'm harvesting that cheaper electricity, and then everyone comes home. I think if I have a shower earlier than 7 o'clock, then I'm probably paying 3.5 kilowatts whilst I'm in that shower, because the rest of it, My battery's covering.
Right, okay, that's good.
It's got an electric shower, Joe.
I do have an electric
You
shower.
take the gas one out and put the electric shower. We wouldn't have done it here.
No, no, no.
Bigger boiler in.
More gas, the battery's cheaper.
You need a bigger boiler.
So what you need is another all-in-one. Then you can have a free shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And well, would they give me 12? National Grid probably give me 12 kilowatts of export.
They probably would, actually.
Give it a go. You know,
They'll do it just out of spite to wind
You
Gordon
can
up.
still limit your export to 6, but run your house at 12. But it won't export more than 6.
No, he's on about going 3-phase now.
What about cash? Hold of cash. How much is your electric bill moved down?
So.
Because you never pay 24p now, do you, for your electricity?
No. So I do have a comparative coming up very soon where I'm looking at the kilowatt hours because it's difficult to gauge from what I was paying on monetary-wise because obviously how it moves about. But at the moment, on average, per month, about £30 I'm paying.
Wow, that's good.
You know, that's my electric. So my gas is, you know.
And that's including standing charges?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really
Did you
good.
berate the family at certain times of the day for using energy?
I did, but I got in there nice and early. So now they've got into that pattern of behaviour as well.
Right, okay.
So,
But you find that with having 6 kilowatts inverter, you don't really need to manage your energy so much.
No.
You don't have to have, a washing machine or the microwave. You can have both.
I could be running the cooker, running my air fryer, and ironing the kids' school uniform, and I've got absolutely, and everything is coming out of the battery. Everything, and that, great, love it.
Right. We mentioned islanding mode. Okay, so let's delve a little bit into it because you put 1 or 2 rods in your garden. Didn't take any footage of it. 3 rods.
3 rods.
What did you get your earth down to?
21.
21
That's
ohms.
impressive.
Yeah.
It is. We were thinking he's hit the gas pipe.
Just scuff the side of it. Yeah.
That was the
That's
weekend
the problem
just
with the
gone.
rod, you see, is that gas pipe down there.
Yeah.
The position, you'd have been really unlucky where you whacked it in your garden when you to find a gas pipe there. It would have been rogue.
Gary, some people have all the luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, we'll come back to maybe how you cut through a gas pipe later on. So, very simple terms. Okay, I don't want anything too complicated. I've obviously put an earth rod in, and now I've got the ability to go in island mode. So the power goes off. Everybody in the street is plunged into darkness. One of those events has actually come true.
Actually come true,
But I've still got my Wi-Fi on. Hopefully the actual
The lights
Wi-Fi
are still on. You're still watching your television. I can tell you a story about that as well.
We'll come to that story. So, but my power is staying within my dwelling.
Yeah.
Now effectively in island mode. One of you explain what that is in basic terms for me.
So island mode is basically when your inverter continues to supply power to your house and disconnects. Your house is actually physically disconnected from the grid. So what your inverter does, it's obviously constantly monitoring the grid, and it will recognise that the grid supply has just failed. Now, a lot happens in that decision point. The grid has failed. The inverter then makes a decision. Do I have enough battery to support the house? Yes, I do. So in a split second, the inverter will do a few things all in sequence. It will disconnect your live and neutral from the grid, leaving the earth intact.
Yep.
Few milliseconds after that, it will then engage the neutral earth relay to put your house back into normal operating. And in a blink of an eye, your house is completely powered, blissfully unaware.
Okay, so you haven't had to put a separate consumer unit in or anying. It's just
Nope.
it's the whole house.
Whole
literally.
house backup.
Now, what if? I mean, you've got 6 kilowatts. You can. What if I had a massive induction hob or something like that, and I went above 6 kilowatts?
If you went above 6 kilowatts in island mode,
Yeah.
what the all-in-one will do, it will give you a 30-second grace period.
Right.
It will allow you to do 7.2 kilowatts for 30 seconds. But during that time, it will scream at you. It will be beep and give you a warning.
Okay.
If you go over that, the all-in-one, unfortunately, will shut down, power down, and then come back on.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's really because if you look in like the code of practice and stuff like that, there's all these really complicated setups to go into island mode, separate board here. It's just, it's for an existing house, that's quite a challenging process to do that. So, yeah.
So yeah, the all-in-one with the gateways is a very simple installation because it's just easy. You just interrupt the main tails into your house, pass them through the gateway,
and then back to the board. Yeah, and it just changes them over. I saw that going on when we obviously did your install, which was, I just want to say for the record, incredibly easy. It was a joke, wasn't it?
It was a joke.
It was the first one they'd ever done. They'd done the course, and it just worked. Absolutely just worked. That's a good tip about updating the firmware, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Firmware,
The stick
yeah.
first.
Use it on a stick, yeah.
Yeah,
Do it on a
we
stick.
did. That was the good trick, but I mean, it was a joke, wasn't it?
We normally ignore that
I think
advice
that-
on jobs.
Well, we did when we got to Italy, didn't we?
Yeah.
so-
That's definitely the best bit of advice you can give any installer is, if you've got it in your unit, before you get to the customer, update all the firmware. Put a plug on it, update the firmware.
Yeah.
Because when you get to the customers, then you haven't got to worry about that part in the commissioning. So it's just a matter of install it, go through the commissioning, it'll go straight through because all your firmware is up to date and you walk away.
That is an absolute top tip, actually.
Yeah,
'Cause we've
it
been
is.
on the receiving end of that so many times. We've got to do an EV charger install, can't get on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So the first thing, you're sort of stuck in this limbo world, needs latest hardware, firmware.
If you've already done that in the workshop or in the factory or the depot,
Yeah,
then it's done. You
no, absolutely.
haven't got that to worry about.
Yeah.
And we had that top tip and it just went in. So it's quite nice because we've been saying battery for a while. Imagine you're in a flat, or townhouse or whatever they call them posh now for flats. What's a posh word for a flat?
An apartment.
Apartment, penthouse. You haven't got the luxury of the solar. But so you think to yourself, I can't tap into these agile tariffs. Well, you can. And it was seamless, wasn't it? So, yeah.
It really was easy.
And where's it going now when you move it? Where are you going to put it now? You got a plant room?
Yeah, so we've got a plant room coming up. That's if Wi-Fi, if you're watching, agrees with the size of the new bathroom. But yes, we're having a plant room installed, and yeah, it's
You're having a bathroom versus plant room.
in there. It's that common argument that you get. Do you want to steal another 900 mil into a bathroom, or do you want a plant room? So
Which is exactly the argument we started with. It's like, the
absolutely.
reason we don't have plant rooms at the minute is because
I was going to say, I think we wouldn't get a plant room.
people would rather have a box room than
got
somewhere to
plant
put a
room.
water.
But no,
system.
but we've got enough room for a plant room. We do have enough room for a plant room. So yeah, and it's going to look. It's going to look lovely in there, and
What if, though, you were to combine those two functions together, Joe? So you can have a bathroom that's also the plant room.
That's
You
just
can have all that on display.
living the dream.
I think
Basin and toilet in there.
I have seen one install with the inverter and battery in the toilet.
Have you? Yeah. Have you? What are the chances? So would you say that was a good idea?
It works and it's IP65, so
Well, I take it people tinkle into the
that's it.
tunnel,
Yeah, not anywhere
into the
else.
battery.
Yeah, well, it'd have to be a high spray rate, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
well, yeah. I think that's a good idea. I ought to try that. Basin and sofa downstairs.
Yeah, I think they were taking the bathroom zones to the extreme by putting that, because there's no zone around the toilet.
No, there isn't.
No.
there isn't. No.
So I think there's a
Good
loop.
idea.
There's a loophole
If you're
in
out
the
there
regs.
and you've got your solar and battery inverters and batteries in a downstairs toilet, please leave your name in the comments. Or if you know anyone who's got it in a downstairs toilet, please comment below and we'll see how many people get that right. Yeah. Okay then, so let's have a look at some of the kit you got here. So it's been great. Now there's something for all budgets here. Now at the front here, we've got our first piece of kit here. Let's have a little look at what we've got here. You're going to do it, Joe?
I've got a screenshot. We can see the range. Actually,
Right,
Can I
okay.
just bring my screen in first. So
Okay.
is this the full range?
This is the range of equipment that GivEnergy owns. Yep.
I like the plug. What does that do? Power your house?
So that's a smart plug. That's energy monitoring. You can turn devices on and off. And then you've got our EV charger, which is a 7.2 kilowatt single phase. Coming soon will be a 22 kilowatt three phase. That's coming soon at some point in the future. Battery storage of various sizes, ranging from 9.5, 5.2, 2.5, 2.6. Is it 2.6? Yeah, 2.6. And then you've got the incorporated inverter and battery for the 13 for the all-in-one. And inverters, these come in a range of sizes, shapes and sizes, from 3.6 kilowatt single phase, 5 kilowatt single phase, up to 11 kilowatt and 20 kilowatt three phase. Coming soon in the inverter space is an 8 and a 10 kilowatt single phase. So they're coming later on this year. What else have we got coming soon?
String inverter.
String inverters coming soon as well, yes.
Because often somebody else uses another one for part of the process sometimes, don't they? They tend to couple your system with a slightly different
Yeah,
system.
so we because we're traditionally an inverter and battery manufacturer, we've not really gone into the PV space, but quite a lot of the time we get loads and loads of questions. Well, why don't you have a string inverter? Why don't you have a string inverter? So we've made one.
Yeah, okay, that makes logical sense. Bit of kit at the front there then, that is what for us? Give us the example of what that is.
So that one on the floor there, that is a Generation 3 single-phase hybrid inverter.
So this is what we like to have in a dwelling?
This is the typical inverter that you would now have in a residential dwelling, yes.
Okay, so that's...
And these come in 3.6 and a 5 kilowatt version.
And that's a hybrid one, isn't
That's
it?
a hybrid, yes. So
Okay.
you'll have your PV directly coupled
Yep.
to a battery with your AC supply in there as well.
And that's what most people are now pretty comfortable with, aren't
That's
they?
what most people would have in their houses,
Okay.
yes.
And in front of us here, a little bit bigger box.
So this is your entry model AC inverter, so no PV on this one, it's just AC.
So this is
it's
for battery?
It's an AC3, so it's 3 kilowatt output. You can put up to 5 batteries on it.
Right, wow.
We can, using a little bit of kit that's in front of it,
Okay.
which is the EMS,
And that's
run
the
3 of these,
energy management system.
It is.
Yeah, this bit of kit here is.
and that will run 3 of these inverters, which will give you 9 kilowatts of output. And however much storage, I've certainly got ones out there working with over 56 kilowatts of storage.
Okay. And that's AC coupled, that's battery only.
Battery
solution.
only.
Battery
so
only
if
solution.
you're going
If you had
for
a string inverter, you would feed that information into your, the energy into your consumer unit, but put a meter clamp onto that feed into your consumer unit, and that information then goes into the inverter. So it knows it's got PV or into the EMS, so the EMS knows it's got.
So those people 15 years ago that probably had theirs installed in the loft, which was just for solar, could easily use
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
That's
as a retrofit,
Yeah,
yes.
that makes sense. Okay, and that's why you see so many of them going as AC coupled as well. And then behind us, this is the one that I like because this is no. I'm going to go for the
the Polar.
yeah ESS. Okay, so just tell me why I might like this one.
So what's good about the Polar ESS? It's got the backing of the GivEnergy brand. It's made by GivEnergy. It's made in the same factory with all the same components that GivEnergy's made. But it's actually been made in such a way that we can produce this at half the cost of a normal GivEnergy inverter, without sacrificing any quality of the actual components themselves.
Okay.
So we've changed the case, we've changed a bit of the logic, and we've taken away a lot of the bells and whistles that you get with the GivEnergy equipment. You know, the grid services, the portal, all of the the remote API control. It is an inverter. Does inverter things, and it does them very well.
Does it come with a battery to accompany it?
It will come, yeah, you get a battery with it, and the batteries come in 5 kilowatt modules, 5 kilowatt hour modules.
So I'm going to pick one of those and one of those 5 kilowatt hour batteries.
Yep.
Yeah. Give me a rough price today, just a rough price. I'm just want a little rough quote. What was that going to cost
You're
me?
probably looking for this and one battery, 2.5k tops, absolute tops.
Absolute tops.
Yeah.
So you're in for that sort of money.
Yeah.
And you can go up to 20 kilowatts in battery.
Okay.
And if you want to pay an extra fee, you can go onto a gateway with a dongle and also a portal.
But that's a good entry point.
Yes.
Yes, it's our entry-level product. Okay. It's exactly the same functionality as its big sister.
So I take it, I'm guessing now the downside is maybe the warranty is probably shorter than
Warranty's a little bit shorter,
the other.
yeah.
Okay. There's always going to be a compromise along the way.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's good. I always think to people, you've got to be careful because how long do you stay in a property as well? So some people get really excited when they go in the first one, get X amount of kit in there and then find 3 years later they've got 2 extra kids they weren't expecting and then they're on the move, aren't they? So, yeah.
And if it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, you don't mind leaving it in the property. And it might actually add a bit of value because you've got that inverter battery storage.
Okay, and what can't be missed is what is above it, which is obviously an EV charger.
Yeah.
So just have a little look at this one then. So we've got the EV charger. I take it it's single phase.
This is
It's
a
a
single
single
phase.
phase.
Do you make a 3-phase?
We will be making a 3-phase.
We have got some on test.
Oh, is that breaking news?
Oh, they've been on test for quite
Been
a
on
while.
test for a while,
Well, yeah, but you haven't been on the show before. Is it breaking news?
Oh, it's breaking news. Yeah, breaking news. It's on test.
Now, is it going to be one of those ones where you buy the 3-phase one and can use it as a single-phase one? Is it going to be one of those? Yeah,
Yes.
we love those. And does it talk to every other bit of kit within the actual GivEnergy range?
does, yes.
Okay, so it will communicate with my inverter battery and all the
Yep,
rest of it?
they're all in a single what they call ecosystem.
Okay.
So you get the same view on the same app. You can view what the EV charger's doing, your inverter's doing, your battery, all in the same app.
I think the thing to think about this, we have 15 of these at GivEnergy HQ. With the data that comes out of it, the meter data, we actually create billing. So if you drive to work in an electric car, you can pay 17 pence a kilowatt. You get a VAT on that's about 20 pence a kilowatt. And we get a bill produced once a month.
All right, okay.
So all of that's possible.
And then another box down there.
On the charger, I mean, so that's all part of the same ecosystem? I can access it all through the same
yeah,
app?
you can.
Does that have the same features to start and stop charging?
Start,
on the
stop
smart
charging,
tariff?
solar charging, Yeah. Smart charging, you know, it doesn't have Octopus Intelligent Go just yet. That's still in the pipeline.
That's down to them, not you.
That's down to Octopus.
I've heard this a lot.
Yeah.
So, and we've
And
got,
this is our EMSR, which is our version 2 EMS.
Okay, yeah.
That's half the press.
What was that?
There's only 2 of those in the UK.
Okay, and what does that do that the...
It's a much more intelligent unit. It has data storage, so if you lose network, it'll carry on storing the data, and then when the network comes back up, we can then retrieve the data back. So you don't get any data loss at all when you're off grid. That's important, because the more data we can then advise you. Right. That's how we're going with our infrastructure now, is we will tell you, we think you might need more battery storage, or do you realise you're probably not using your battery efficiently? You might want to consider working it like this. So part of that data infrastructure is what we want to get to.
It's a little bit like a Nest thermostat.
Your AI, yeah.
Learns what you do and then will suggest.
Correct, yes.
I mean,
threw AI in there, because it's there. So is it AI?
This won't be, but the data sources we're looking at.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
like Nest thermostat, you know, what happens in our house, I turn the heating down, this is our turns it back up again. And then obviously it decides that she's right. And then advises me that really we need the heating on at this time and this temperature.
On social media, there's a picture of an old-fashioned thermostat with an arrow on it, and it says Christmas, and it says less presents, okay, and more presents, depending on which way it goes. So rotate towards the cold side, you get more presents.
Yeah,
I thought that was very funny. My wife put it in the group chat.
Yeah.
So you need that on yours, old bar humbug.
Well, I did once alter the calibration of thermostat, so it said, you know, it might have said 26 degrees, but that was really 20.
Wow. Wow. Dear me. You two are sitting in the right seats. Well, I don't know.
You'll be
Pizza boy in a way.
I think it's something you
Yeah, well, you're
Get into it.
thrifty. Yeah. Oh, dear me.
become aware of where all your energy is going.
All the squeaking from you lot, and as you're moving.
You can do that on Tado thermostats. You can put a massive calibration in them,
I've got Inspire ones, they're the same.
Yeah, you just offset it so everyone's sat there. I'm just freezing in here. Well,
I have my house at
Just
18 degrees, that's it.
yeah.
Are they MC4 connectors?
Oh, can I have a look?
What we've also got coming in the future as well is our installer app.
Oh, I think we've got a picture of the
Installer
installer
app.
app.
We love an app.
We love an app.
Could you almost
Yeah, there we go, there's our installer app. So, do you want to talk us through the app, Michael?
I can do. So the installer app will make the installer journey much more easier. So we've listened to our installers where they're saying they're struggling with the dongle and connection. So we'll do that all automatically. We'll advise you what to look at, where there are issues, and we'll help you commission your equipment much quicker.
Can you do it all from your mobile device?
All from the mobile.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to look at the portal version on a mobile phone or a laptop, which a lot of electricians don't carry laptops, this is all been compressed into an app.
You don't need to grab your customer's mobile phone off them, because that's one of the big frustrations on a lot of them, where it's like, can I have your phone, please? And Gary's in there flicking through their personal photographs and stuff like that. You know, he's putting them on Instagram and stuff like that. And then, it's not. We like ones where you can basically do it all on your own.
Yeah.
Is there a sort of handover process to the customer? You commission it as an installer, and then do they just download your app and log in?
Well, as part of the commissioning process, you create the account for the user.
Yeah.
It's one of the very first parts of the commissioning, all the way through to the end, and then as part of that human thing about showing the person how to use it, you will teach them, you show them how to download the app.
Yeah.
And you would spend some time, the installer will spend time with the customer, showing them all the various bits and bobs of the app.
Right.
We do have a plethora of videos showing you all the individual bits of kit and how they work.
Yeah, videos like yesterday. You thought of PDF documents? Everyone
Well,
loves
we've got those as well.
Oh, okay, well, you're on it then, aren't you?
Yeah.
No one likes a video
Yeah,
anymore.
we have an online resource, online repositories.
Okay, let's have a little look here then, Mr. Hammond. What is that, a MC4 connector?
Is this an MC4 connector? Well, I'm not going to lie to you, Gary. It's got a whiff.
It's got a whiff, has it?
I've got a whiff of a solar DC connector.
It is. So if we look here, they are not MC4 connectors, folks. We learn a lot on the way through here. Lots of people out there, including myself in a previous video a long time ago, would have called this box of beauties, which I can't open with one hand. Of course, someone's going to help me. Look at it. What are the chances? In there, we would think, looking at them, that is asphalt, or is it tarmac? Is it a Hoover or a vacuum cleaner, or is it a Dyson? These are not MC4 connectors. And we need to get away from calling them those, because MC4 is a patented trade name, okay, and only can be used for the ones from Stowbly. These, as they say on the box, are solar DC connectors, and you shouldn't interface them with the ones from Stowbly. And we couldn't find a chart, could we? We had a little look for a compatibility chart. Could we find one, Gordon?
No, we
If
couldn't.
anyone's got one out there, please send it in. Email it over to gordon@efix.co.uk. I'll have a look at those.
We have got a few questions in. So a quick question for the GivEnergy team. Has there been any updates on when parallel operation will be available on the all-in-one range?
So the parallel operation of the all-in-one is currently in the beta stages.
Right. So what does parallel operation mean for people who, for Gary?
So parallel operation means you've got one inverter and its integral battery. You then add another one next to it, and they operate together.
Okay.
They become friends.
Yeah. So if you want to double your capacity.
You want to double your capacity and double your power.
So that's 2 inverters, not 2 batteries.
Both.
Oh, the
2 inverters and 2 batteries.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So Joe could literally go to 12
He
kilowatts.
could go to 12 if his DNO allows.
He could run
And I know
through.
his DNO will allow him.
Of course they will. And someone actually said in the comments the reason he allows because nobody lives there.
If he wanted to, if he was that greedy, he could actually have 3 of them.
But what you can do with the GivEnergy all-in-one in parallel is if in your circumstance you can't have 12 kilowatts, you could still have 2 all-in-ones.
Yeah.
But you will configure the gateway in such a way that you two operating as a pair, you're still only 6 kilowatts.
Okay.
This sounds ridiculous at the minute, but it isn't, because once them heat pumps come and everyone's got, all of a sudden people can go, well, hang on a minute, I've got my heating on, I want to come in and put my oven on, I can't do this. See, that's
You run out of power.
You're going to run out. So you might be able to drag it in at a reasonable rate to charge those batteries, but you can't push it back out into your installation when you need it.
And that's why it makes me quite excited that you're building your eco house here, your house of the future.
Yeah.
So part of what we're doing, I can't mention with who, is we are running batteries and inverters in parallel motor using the EMS and the heat pump system. And then we're measuring that throughout the year to see what the trend is. So how can we, as a heat pump manufacturer that we're working with and ourselves as battery manufacturers, make it cheaper to run that heat pump? Because if we can manage that and predict how that works with all the information that we're gathering, that means you can then make that decision to go to heat pumps. And it's looking good at the moment. So I've got another 4 months of data to collect now through the real winter time, and then we'll have that information.
Is the plan to put the heat pump in your app?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the plan is to display all of the controls that they would use for controlling their heat pump, including the data from the heat pump itself in our app, and all of the controls to control our inverters in their app.
Yeah, I think.
So as a customer, you only want to log in into one place.
And that's a big problem at the minute. There's not many people can say that to anyone who actually pulls the heat pump in, because all those heat pump people don't like speaking electrical stuff. They're out there in the heat pump world. But to actually capture that is actually what.
Yeah.
And
That's what we're working towards.
Goes back to your data gathering for the customer. You might be saying to them, you do need another 1 or 2 batteries.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden, you're dropped out here. I'm learning.
It's a sleeping salesman in the cupboard, isn't it?
It's, well, but again,
I bet it never says you need to get rid of one.
no, it probably doesn't. But again, informed, then you can make that decision, can't you?
And I think that's it. If you bring all this data together for an eco house, so a house of the future that's all electric, heated by a heat pump, you need to have that information all together so you can make those judgments, and your systems can make the judgments that they need to run.
Sounds quite exciting being an electrician at the minute, doesn't it?
It's an
Doesn't
exciting
sound
world.
like the electrician job that I took on all those years ago.
It's changing very
Electricians'
rapidly.
world is changing very, very quickly.
Yeah, and you suggested the RJ45 is an area that they need to
Yeah,
delve
definitely.
into.
Network cabling.
Brush up on their skills in the RJ45
And you
area.
found some issues there when connecting stuff up, and you get help desk comes through.
Yeah, come in, we see a photograph, says, yeah, we've used 2 wires to it, and I says, no, you've used 2 pairs. You need to use 1 pair. We have used 1 pair. No, you've used the orange and white in one side and the blue and white in the other. And all you're doing is you're reducing the impedance of that network cable. So just take one out, split the other one up, put it back in, do the other end, you find it will run much
Electricians
better.
are not comms engineers.
No, and that's the thing.
They need
We're
to
not comms engineers, so it's that little education.
Which is a journey I'm sure we'll go on at some point, Gordon.
Yes, and Ollie wants the answer. When do we get the answer? Is the grid broken? Do you think it's broken, Gary?
I think.
We'll start with Joe while you're thinking. Joe, do you think it's broken?
Yes.
It is? Well, you've got 6 kilowatts.
His grid's not broken.
No,
His
it's
grid's
not.
fine.
Well, probably more broken now that I'm pumping 6 kilowatts into it. But no, I think there are infrastructure issues out there, and I think it would be naive that all electricians would know that. We know that there are those infrastructure problems. Why I've been allowed 6 kilowatts, no idea. Maybe I've got a very good administrative person back there in National Grid, in which case, thank you. But yeah, more needs to be done.
Gary?
Yeah, but I'm more secure now with the conversations we've had off camera and on camera that actually the things that I was worried about, which was, you know, we all turn everything on, it all goes off, actually the systems are getting in place as quickly as additional electricity is getting in place to actually allow for those sort of large demand times or a drop in frequency, and actually the system corrects itself. Whether it works every time, we'll find out as we move forward.
I think what we'll find is the grid of the future will not look like the grid is now.
No.
The grid of the future will be not, you know, 100 power stations around the country all pumping out megawatts. It'll be hundreds of thousands of power stations all pumping out little bits of kilowatts.
Yeah, and that's where the prosumer came from. Michael?
Yeah, I think the grid is broken. I think the process of managing the grid is broken the most. How can you have solar farms that are sitting there waiting to generate electricity and wasting it at the minute because we can't give them a grid connect?
Right.
But I'll throw it the other way, and we've also got factory roofs sitting empty without solar on.
We have,
and we invested in it and paid for it.
Wind turbines that we can't get the energy out. We're paying them not to give us the energy. Why? Why are we doing that? let's store it. If the grid don't need it, let's store it and use it later when they're not turning.
Yeah, and when we're firing up the...
And let's not forget, there are 2 million homes in this country who have smart meters that are dumb. And we still have to live on economy 7.
If you can name that dumb person in the comments who's got one of those.
Yeah, but we're living that experience here for people, yes. So we're in the process of solar here. We're going to be learning on an industrial scale what it means for us. We'd love to join in some of those frequency events and things like that with our tiny limited 11 kilowatts, but we can support 11 kilowatts for kilowatt hours for approximately 5 hours. So hopefully loads of grid events are long.
Every kilowatt counts.
Yeah. And obviously next week we've got Solar and Storage Live, so you're there. You both be there?
Yeah.
See you again, yeah.
I love it. I love the event.
So we're going to try and go out. Please, if you're going to that event, come along, say hello. We'll be everywhere. We'll be dotted around. We'll be on stands. We'll be doing a bit of everything. But hopefully we'll be on your stand at some point as well. So come along and say hello, okay, if you've got nice things to say. If you haven't got nice things to say, go along and say Gordon. And that would be great from that point of view. But we're also, hopefully Mark Allison's on tonight. Mark Allison, Sam from Oval Renewables. Is it Stuart as well? He's going to be coming out with us. Going out for a meal. We've said to you it's a Wednesday evening. Hopefully you'll join us as well. There was a Miller and Carter mention when I was asked.
Very nice.
I do like a little bit of Stilton on mistake, but I don't like eating like raw
like that cabbage, don't you?
That thing. No, I don't. And you get that. No. So we're going on there. So again, if that's something you're interested in, maybe reach out to Mark Allison, get a couple of extra spaces booked, or grab us on the day and see you come. It would be great to see you. And while we're talking nice and quickly towards this part of the show, remember, the Safer September campaign is still going strong. Next time out, we should be pulling out the winner of the safe isolation kit donated by Test Instrument Solutions.
Yep.
And Mark Allison's been giving away test kits that we donated at the last Elect show.
Yep.
We gave a large donation.
And don't forget, if you haven't done yours, and I haven't done mine yet, but
mine.
I will do before I know I saw yours upstairs actually. So that reminded me, obviously, to revisit our safe isolation CPD. You get your certificate, and if you haven't got a safe isolation kit, but I'm sure most of the viewers already have, absolutely, you can pop down to your local wholesaler and they'll give you 10% off from TIS.
And this one here, I'll hopefully bring a photograph in as well. We're now a proud sponsor, much like the lads that's down at Wrexham. We've got a red top as well, so there we are. So we're sponsoring our female football team, Find and Volta. We liked it because it has had an electrical tone to it as well. We're sponsoring them this year for the home games. Couldn't get to the first game because they moved the kick-off time from a time that I was going to one that I couldn't make. And next time out, it's an incredible distance away. My times are doing an hour and a half to watch a football match over, so I'll be going to their next home match. So we're incredibly proud to be sponsoring those, and we will be all season, and we'll get along to see their games. And they all got sunglasses as well when I see them. So again, maybe we'll take a few pairs of sunglasses down to Solar and Storage if we remember, and we can hand those out as well if people come up to us on any of our stands wherever we're dotted around. Looking good, wasn't it?
It is. I've enjoyed this.
I have incredibly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Obviously, I think we've got still loads to talk about. Circle back to where we started. Obviously, we try to have to solve problems. The grid's got problems, infrastructure's got problems. We're terrible at future-proofing it in this country. Yep. And obviously, loads of... you think you've put an EV charger in, you're going to be putting a battery in, probably. You're going to be putting the heat pump in, almost certainly, if the government's got their way. And obviously, solar makes it a little bit cheaper if you can be bothered to go on the roof.
Yeah, and unlike maybe the start of this, there is a problem out there, and we've started looking at that problem. a solution is by a calm and measured approach to that solution, and maybe you suggest that solution with a direction to go. We thought the grid was broken, talking to you all day. Already a lot of those solutions are in place that maybe people weren't aware of. And when we're saying, oh no, it'll never work, actually, that's a little bit of hot air when we're going to try and make this work, aren't we? Which I think is excellent. Next time out, Gordon, who we got on next time?
We've got Environment back on next time.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Is it Larry?
It is Larry.
Yeah, we love Larry.
Larry. Obviously, Larry's done the challenge, so we're going to have to find Larry a challenge to do.
Well, he'll be doing the Cat 6, won't he?
All right.
Larry.
Cat
so
6
that's
Larry.
what we're going to have next time out. If you've left us a comment today, we will go back through those comments. It helps drive future shows. If you joined us on Catch Up and you got to the very end of this, thank you very much. If you got as much out of it as I did, you must think that this show was absolutely worth investing your time, and I would class it as a quality piece of CPD, as is the safe isolation one. Michael, you've been brilliant today, and I was chuffed a bit for your time, so well done for getting that. You took loads off it, and that is uber respectful. Unfortunately, your time was outrageous. Outrageous. But you've got a little bragging rights. Neil Bridgman did go to Solar and Storage last time out. You can't miss him. He's as tall as he is wide, and he'll probably come up and give you a very firm handshake. He's a lovely
gentleman.
gentleman.
Because I've beat him on the
Yeah, absolutely. You've got something to talk about there. We'd like to thank Joe for joining us as well. You've been up for the last little while. We'd like to thank Rick for coming along with his bad arm. We'd like to bring in the behind the crew team, so give us a wave behind there, boys. So we've got Joe. He's been working throughout the day, flat out. There's old bad shoulder as well. Old sick.
One arm Willie.
Sick note. So, sorry. We have got a new song. So don't jump off yet, because we've got a special song celebrating our guest to end the show.
And GivEnergy's birthday.
Is it? What, today?
Yesterday.
Where the cakes?
Yesterday.
8 years.
8 years yesterday.
I'll say it again. Where's cakes?
No cakes.
No cakes now.
All right, I'm chuffed for you. Roll the end credits. See you in a fortnight.
Michael and Paul, they're on the screen, giving us the lowdown on the energy scene. Solar shining, battery store. Gary's found a way to earn even more. The grid is buzzing, Gordon's on the case, while Rick's back home, healing at his pace. Joe's on the edits, fixing it clean, and Haven's running missions behind the scenes. Power up, we're the eFIXX team, lighting up the future with a solar beam. From the grid to the ground, we've got the plan. We're building energy, every woman and man. Gordon's digging deep in the power flow, fixing up the glitches so the system can grow. Rick's got the spirit, even off the field, with Joe's edit sharp, the story's revealed. Hammond's stepping up, no mission too small. We've got each other's